Seen inside a quiet living room late at night. Jungkook and Jimin are sitting across from each other, having what appears to be a simple and relaxed conversation. Warm indoor lighting softly illuminates their faces while a large window reveals a quiet city outside. Jimin is holding a cup with both hands, wearing a small smile, while Jungkook watches him attentively. However, Jimin's eyes subtly reveal that something is bothering him, as if he is preparing himself to say something difficult. Create a warm but mysterious atmosphere, realistic facial expressions, cinematic lighting, shallow depth of field, emotional K-drama aesthetic, and subtle tension beneath the peaceful moment. No text on the image. It was supposed to be an ordinary conversation. Neither of them knew that one simple question from Jungkook would slowly uncover something Jimin had been hiding for a long time. Scene where Jungkook slightly leans toward Jimin, looking at him with genuine concern and attention. Jimin is still holding his cup, but his smile has slowly disappeared. The room remains warm and peaceful, yet the lighting around Jimin becomes slightly more dramatic. Jungkook appears to have asked a simple question, while Jimin takes an unusually long time to answer. Use emotional close-up framing, realistic expressions, cinematic lighting, subtle shadows, and a quiet K-drama atmosphere. Do not reveal the conflict immediately. Make the viewer feel that an ordinary conversation is slowly turning into something much more serious. Are you okay lately? Jungkook asked. Jimin smiled faintly. But this time, his smile looked more like an answer he was forcing himself to give. Scene showing Jimin giving a faint smile while avoiding Jungkook's eyes. His eyes appear slightly watery even though he is trying to remain calm. Jungkook is visible softly blurred in the background, his expression suggesting that he has noticed something unusual. Jimin's phone rests face down on the table, suggesting that he may be hiding something. Use warm indoor lighting mixed with cool moonlight from the window, creating emotional contrast. Make the scene intimate, realistic, mysterious, and visually dramatic, with detailed facial expressions and a subtle sense of something being wrong. Jungkook knew that smile. It wasn't Jimin's smile when he was happy. It was the smile of someone desperately trying to hide something. Scene where Jimin's phone suddenly vibrates on the table in the middle of their quiet conversation. Jimin immediately looks toward it with a brief flash of panic before trying to control his expression. Jungkook notices the change and watches him carefully. The phone screen should show an unclear mysterious notification without revealing readable details. Focus on Jimin's hand slowly reaching for the phone. Use dramatic night lighting, soft shadows, cinematic composition, realistic facial expressions, and an emotional thriller atmosphere. The scene should make viewers wonder who sent the message and why it affected Jimin so strongly. One small vibration changed the atmosphere. Jimin grabbed his phone far too quickly for Jungkook not to notice. Jungkook looks at Jimin with a calm but questioning expression. Jimin puts his phone away and tries to change the subject. They remain seated in the same room, but the emotional distance between them suddenly feels much greater. Use a cinematic two-character composition, with Jungkook in the foreground and Jimin slightly behind him. The lighting should be darker than in the previous scene. Add subtle details such as Jimin nervously moving his fingers. Create a tense but restrained atmosphere where the conflict comes from suspicion rather than anger. Who was that? Jungkook asked. Jimin remained silent for several seconds. No one. Somehow, that answer only made Jungkook more suspicious. Jimin sits quietly, staring down at his drink while Jungkook patiently waits for an answer. Neither character speaks, but their expressions should tell the story. Jimin looks as if he is deciding whether he should reveal a major secret. Jungkook appears concerned but refuses to pressure him. Gradually darken the room, using a single table lamp as the main light source. Create dramatic shadows, realistic expressions, cinematic framing, and an intense sense of silence. The scene should feel like the moment immediately before a major revelation in a television drama. For the first time that night, Jimin didn't know what to say. There were too many things he wanted to tell Jungkook, and too many things he was afraid to reveal. Jimin slowly raises his head and looks directly at Jungkook. His expression is serious but uncertain. Jungkook immediately stops smiling and gives him his full attention. Frame both characters as though they are about to enter an important conversation. Warm light falls across their faces while the rest of the room remains slightly dark. Use cinematic close-up framing, realistic emotional expressions, soft shadows, and an atmosphere filled with anticipation. The viewer should feel that whatever Jimin says next could completely change the direction of their relationship. Story text, Kook. I want to ask you something. Jimin's voice was quiet. But the way he said it made Jungkook realize this was not an ordinary question. Jungkook looks visibly surprised after hearing Jimin's question. Jimin watches him seriously, but fear is clearly visible in his eyes as though he is terrified of Jungkook's answer. Place both characters within the same cinematic frame, emphasizing their emotional connection and growing tension. Use a shallow depth of field so their eyes remain the main focus. Add soft nighttime lighting, subtle shadows, realistic expressions, and a dramatic K-drama atmosphere. Do not reveal the answer or secret. The image should leave viewers wondering what question could possibly make both of them so emotional. Jimin's question sounded simple. But Jungkook never imagined that answering it would force him to question everything he thought he knew. Close-up of Jungkook's expression slowly changing from confusion to seriousness. He studies Jimin's face as if trying to understand what he is really thinking. Jimin looks down, unable to maintain eye contact. The room has become almost completely silent. Use side lighting that creates gentle shadows across their faces, giving the scene a psychological and emotional tone. Include the subtle detail of Jimin nervously clasping his hands together. The scene should clearly show that the conversation has become deeply personal. Jungkook finally realized something. Jimin wasn't looking for an answer. He was trying to find the courage to say something. Jimin opens his mouth as if he is finally ready to confess something, but stops halfway through the sentence. Jungkook patiently waits, watching him closely. Jimin's eyes are visibly filled with tears. There is no physical contact, but the emotional tension between them is overwhelming. Use an intimate cinematic close-up, low-key lighting, a dark background, realistic skin details, and shallow depth of field. Jimin's expression should communicate an internal struggle between wanting to be honest and being terrified of losing Jungkook. The truth is, Jimin stopped. Just 3 words, yet Jungkook could feel that whatever came next might change everything. Scene where Jungkook stares at Jimin while subtle visual elements suggest memories from the recent past. Use soft reflections, blurred silhouettes, or faint cinematic overlays of previous moments without making the frame overcrowded. Jimin remains seated across from him, looking deeply sad. The scene should feel as though Jungkook is suddenly realizing that the signs of Jimin's emotional struggle had been there all along. Use dramatic lighting, emotional composition, realistic expressions, and a subtle melancholic atmosphere. Suddenly, Jungkook remembered all the little changes in Jimin over the past few weeks. Maybe he had seen the signs all along, he simply never wanted to believe them. Jungkook speaks softly, his expression showing hurt rather than anger. Jimin looks back at him with watery eyes. Both remain calm, but the emotional tension is overwhelming. The room is now darker, illuminated only by a table lamp and faint moonlight from the window. Use a medium close-up composition, realistic expressions, cinematic drama lighting, and an intimate atmosphere. The conflict should come from fear of losing someone and the inability to speak honestly rather than from hostility or aggression. "You've been pulling away from me," Jungkook said quietly. Jimin didn't deny it. And somehow, his silence was the most painful answer of all. Close-up of Jimin as a single tear slowly rolls down his cheek after he can no longer maintain his composure. Jungkook looks shocked and concerned, but he keeps his distance, afraid of making Jimin feel pressured. Focus primarily on Jimin's expression and Jungkook's reaction. Use soft lighting, a blurred background, nighttime atmosphere, realistic facial details, and cinematic emotional framing. Keep the scene heartbreaking but elegant and restrained rather than exaggerated. Jimin didn't cry when he said he wanted to stop. He cried when he realized Jungkook genuinely wanted to know why. Jungkook slowly stands from his chair but stops several steps away from Jimin. His expression shows confusion, fear, and the desperate feeling of possibly losing someone important. Jimin remains seated with his head lowered. The room suddenly feels much larger, emphasizing an invisible emotional distance between them. Use a cinematic wide shot, long shadows, low warm lighting, realistic body language, and an emotionally heavy K-drama atmosphere. The scene should feel like a major turning point. Jungkook wanted to move closer. But for the first time, he was afraid that one wrong step might make Jimin pull away even further. Jimin finally takes out his phone and shows Jungkook something on the screen. Jungkook's expression immediately changes to shock as he looks at it. The message should remain intentionally unreadable. Focus instead on the emotional reactions of both characters. Jimin looks frightened while Jungkook looks completely stunned. Use the phone screen as the primary light source, leaving the room mostly dark. Add dramatic shadows, cinematic framing, realistic expressions, and an emotional thriller atmosphere. "This is why I changed," Jimin whispered. Jungkook looked at the screen. Seconds later, his expression changed completely. Close-up of Jungkook reading a mysterious message on Jimin's phone. His expression shifts from confusion to shock, then to deep sadness and restrained anger. Jimin stands beside him, looking guilty and frightened. Do not make the message readable. Focus on their facial expressions and body language. Use dark cinematic lighting, the glow of the phone reflecting across their faces, shallow depth of field, and a suspenseful drama atmosphere. The viewer should feel that Jungkook has finally discovered part of the truth but still doesn't know who is behind the mysterious message. After reading the message, Jungkook finally understood why Jimin wanted everything to stop. But one question remained: who had sent it? Jungkook looks at Jimin with an expression of sadness and disappointment rather than anger. Jimin lowers his head, struggling to hold back tears. They stand facing each other in a room that is now almost completely dark. A single beam of moonlight illuminates the sides of their faces. Use dramatic cinematic shadows, realistic expressions, emotional body language, and an intense K-drama atmosphere. The scene should feel like an emotional explosion after a conversation that started peacefully. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" Jungkook's voice trembled. Jimin finally looked up, and his answer left Jungkook completely speechless. Jimin finally looks directly at Jungkook and reveals something he has been hiding for a long time. His face is filled with sadness and fear. Jungkook stands completely still, his eyes showing overwhelming shock. Use an intimate cinematic composition that emphasizes their eyes and facial expressions. Keep the background dark and softly illuminated. Do not reveal the actual secret through text. Let the expressions, atmosphere, and body language tell the story. The scene should feel like the emotional climax of an episode while still leaving viewers desperate to know what Jimin has revealed. Jimin's answer was not what Jungkook expected. The most painful part was realizing that Jimin hadn't been pulling away because he stopped caring. Jimin slowly stands after their emotional conversation. Jungkook remains frozen in place, staring at him as though he wants to stop him but doesn't know how. Jimin walks toward the door while quietly wiping away his tears. The hallway beyond the door is illuminated with colder light, creating a visual contrast with the warmer room behind him. Use a cinematic wide shot, dramatic shadows, realistic body language, emotional atmosphere, and a sense of impending separation. Jimin had finally said everything. Or at least, Jungkook thought he had. Because just before the door closed, Jimin said one final sentence that left him speechless. Jimin stands in the doorway and looks back at Jungkook one final time. His face is filled with sadness while Jungkook stands several steps away, completely stunned. Cold hallway light creates a dramatic silhouette behind Jimin. Do not place dialogue text on the image, but make their expressions clearly communicate that Jimin's final words are extremely important. Use cinematic lighting, shallow depth of field, emotional realism, dramatic shadows, and a mysterious K-drama atmosphere. The image should feel like the final shot before a major episode cliffhanger. If one day I disappear without saying goodbye, don't come looking for me. Jungkook froze. Why would Jimin say something like that now? Wide shot of the door slowly closing after Jimin leaves, while Jungkook remains standing alone inside the room. His face is empty and devastated, as if he still cannot process what happened. 2 unfinished cups remain on the table, symbolizing a conversation that was never truly finished. Use nighttime lighting, dramatic shadows, a quiet atmosphere, realistic details, and strong visual storytelling. The empty space around Jungkook should emphasize his loneliness and make the viewer feel that the conversation was only the beginning of a much bigger mystery. The door closed. But their conversation was far from over. After Jimin leaves, Jungkook slowly returns to the table and notices a small object he had previously overlooked. It appears to be a key or a personal item belonging to Jimin. Jungkook picks it up with a confused expression. Focus the camera on the object and Jungkook's hand while keeping the dark room blurred in the background. Use dramatic lighting, cinematic suspense, realistic textures, and a subtle investigative atmosphere. The object should look important without immediately revealing what it unlocks. Jimin had left something behind. But had he really forgotten it, or had he deliberately left it there for Jungkook to find? Jungkook discovers a folded piece of paper hidden underneath Jimin's cup. Only a small portion of the writing is visible while the important section remains covered by Jungkook's hand. His expression suggests that he is beginning to realize there is a much larger plan behind Jimin's sudden decision. Use cinematic close-up framing, low-key lighting, realistic paper texture, dramatic shadows, and a strong suspenseful atmosphere. Do not reveal the complete message. One clue became two. And now Jungkook knew that Jimin's disappearance might have been planned long before their conversation that night. Jungkook walks quickly through a dim hallway while holding the mysterious object and folded paper he discovered. His expression has changed from sadness to determination. Some hallway lights are flickering, creating long shadows across the floor. Use a cinematic tracking shot feeling, subtle motion blur, dramatic lighting, realistic body language, and an investigative thriller atmosphere. The scene should visually communicate that Jungkook has stopped waiting for answers and is now determined to uncover the truth himself. For the first time that night, Jungkook stopped waiting for an explanation. He decided to find the answer himself. Jungkook arrives at an unfamiliar location connected to the clue Jimin left behind. The place is quiet and almost deserted, illuminated only by distant city lights. Jungkook stands in front of a mysterious locked door while holding the key he discovered earlier. His expression shows both fear and determination. Use a cinematic thriller composition from behind Jungkook, making the viewer feel as though they are standing with him. Dark nighttime colors, dramatic shadows, atmospheric lighting, realistic details, and a strong sense of anticipation. The key fit a door Jungkook had never known existed. And whatever was behind it might finally explain why Jimin wanted him to stay away. Jungkook slowly opens the mysterious door. A faint light from inside illuminates his shocked face. The hidden room contains old photographs, letters, documents, and personal objects that appear to be connected to Jimin. Do not reveal every detail clearly. Instead, arrange the objects so viewers can search the image for clues. Use cinematic thriller lighting, deep shadows, realistic textures, atmospheric depth, and a mysterious emotional tone. Jungkook should look as though he has just entered a part of Jimin's life that he was never supposed to see. Jungkook stepped inside. For the first time, he saw a side of Jimin's life he had never known existed. Jungkook picks up an old photograph and stares at it with overwhelming shock. The photograph shows Jimin in an unfamiliar location with another person whose identity is intentionally unclear. A date and a few handwritten markings are visible on the back of the photograph but should not be fully readable. Focus on Jungkook's hand holding the photograph while keeping his shocked face visible in the background. Use dramatic close-up composition, cinematic depth of field, mysterious lighting, realistic details, and an investigative drama atmosphere. The date on the photograph made Jungkook go completely silent. It had been taken long before Jimin ever told him that everything had to stop. Jungkook stands inside the dark hidden room surrounded by photographs and documents. Behind him, through frosted glass or a partially open door, the silhouette of an unknown person can be seen watching him. Jungkook has not noticed the figure yet. Use a cinematic thriller composition, high contrast lighting, long shadows, realistic environment details, and an intense mysterious atmosphere. Do not reveal the stranger's face or identity. The visual should create the feeling that Jungkook is no longer alone and that someone has been following the trail of secrets alongside him. Jungkook thought he was alone. He didn't know someone had been watching him since the moment he entered the room. Jungkook suddenly turns around after hearing Jimin's voice coming from the other side of a dark hallway. His expression shows relief, fear, and disbelief all at once. At the far end of the corridor stands a silhouette that appears to be Jimin, but the face is hidden by shadows. Use dramatic backlighting, a long cinematic hallway, nighttime atmosphere, deep shadows, realistic facial expressions, and a psychological thriller aesthetic. Keep the identity of the figure uncertain so the viewer wonders whether it is really Jimin or someone else. Kook, the voice sounded exactly like Jimin. Jungkook turned around. But what he saw made his blood run cold. Jungkook stands at the end of a dark hallway, holding the photograph and mysterious letter he discovered. His expression shows devastating shock, as though he has finally realized that the reason Jimin wanted everything to stop is far more complicated than he ever imagined. Jimin stands several meters away under a faint light, his eyes filled with tears, seemingly desperate to explain something. Behind Jimin, however, an unidentified shadowy figure can be seen standing in the darkness. Do not reveal the figure's face or identity. Use dramatic backlighting, powerful silhouettes, cinematic depth of field, realistic emotional expressions, atmospheric shadows, thriller drama aesthetics, and a composition resembling the final poster of a major television episode. The image must end with a powerful unanswered question and make viewers desperate to discover what happens next. Jungkook finally understood that their quiet conversation that night had only been the beginning. But before Jimin could reveal who had forced him to walk away, the lights suddenly went out. When they came back on, Jimin was gone.